Hello, everybody. Welcome to Everything in Moderation International Edition. This is episode 8, and we have a lovely new face with us today. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Patrick Santana. Nice to be here. Good to see you guys.
Nice to have you. Patrick, we go to school with Patrick. Patrick decided to come on after we lost Luis. Wishing Luis the best, of course, and he'll probably pop in every so often. But now we have some topics to discuss today. What did we decide that we wanted to talk about?
So we wanted to decide to talk about the Biden administration and the differences between its administration and the Trump administration now that the inauguration's coming up. Uh, and there's a lot to delve into, especially with the EU, United Arab Emirates, environmental issues. So we could get into that now.
Yep. So where do you want to start? I was thinking we start with China.
Yeah, China is interesting. I would say before we really get into the specifics, it's important to note that although with domestic policies between the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, although those are quite polar right now, you tend to see at least a little bit more similarity between the parties when it comes to international policy. So I don't believe the Biden administration is going to be completely, vulnerable with them. I don't think they're going to show as much weakness as Trump supporters or people on the right would predict, because again, it's going on more, let's say, a realist approach in that case. Do you have any ideas on that, Anthony?
Sure, I'll bounce off what you said. I definitely think that from what Trump did when he was president, he really was tough on China, and the way his really America First policy towards China was it showed because China tried to take advantage of us for years under Obama, and really Trump tried to make sure try to contain China, and I really hope that Biden will continue that, but the odds of that happening is very slim to none. Under Biden, it will probably be another one of what happened under Obama. Biden's probably going to be very weak on China. I mean, him and his son Hunter have very strong ties to China, so probably most likely that China will probably be ripping us off again, and it'll probably just go back to the was years ago.
Well, it depends.
In what way do you think that they're going to rip us off?
I don't know, what Trump emphasized when he was president, unfair trade deals, just ripping us off, and be economic wise, just we'll lose money either way, and just that kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Are you also concerned about spyware? I know some of the issues coming up had to do with the company dealing with TikTok that's still in the talks right now. But besides that, I feel that China-U.S. relations, or at least China, and in terms of its economic growth, that's been going up since the Nixon administration. He helped that come across. So to say it's really a one-party issue wouldn't be 100% correct. Obviously, Trump had a really strong stance on them. It was an American first stance for most countries. I mean, you had, he was criticizing the United Nations. He criticized Paris and the accords there, and of China, of course. And also now you see a similar fallout between Russia and the U.S. Another thing to come up. I don't want to switch topics too harshly, but yeah, I'm really concerned, or at least interested, to see what happens in terms of extending the nuclear arms deal between the U.S. I mean, we could talk about China in terms of the economy, spyware, and things of that nature. But if you really want to look at the nuclear power, you have the United States and Russia taking over 90% of nuclear arms in the world. So I think a really big issue that we need to focus on has to do with that. So will that be extended? Basically, what that would be doing is minimizing nuclear weapons in both states. So what do you think Biden would do there in that case?
With nuclear weapons, well, he did say he wanted to join the nuclear arms deal, and I mean that was actually a deal that Trump left, since he called it unfair, and it was unfair. I think him joining back that is actually and I don't really think that's a great move by him. Since if it was unfair, it obviously was unfair. You know, Trump looks at things as an American first perspective. So I think him joining back, I don't really think that's a good idea. I
That
think
would that would be a that would replace the New Start deal. I think that's what it's
Right.
called. Yeah. So
Right. That's the New
that's
Start deal.
this one's gonna expire on February 5th. So
gotcha.
this is fast approaching. So that would probably be one of Biden's like first foreign policies implemented. I believe that he said that he wanted to sign it again, and I think Russia, I think, said that they were going to. They showed intention of wanting to sign it again. I mean,
Right. And you'll see
I don't know the inner workings of the deal. I think it just limits the amount of like warheads you could have, the amount of operational.
Yeah, I don't know the inner
yes.
workings of the deal
Yeah.
either. Okay, Pat, you go ahead.
No, I understand that. Yes, it's limiting the amount of warheads coming through. If there are any more specifics, we'll see that later on once a new deal is either extended or altered. I would say there's probably some sort of altering that will occur. Uh, but yeah, it's definitely something to look into right now. And you'll see a pattern of the Biden administration, or you could just say, future President Biden by tomorrow, a pattern of him wanting to get back into certain deals cut off by the Trump administration. But before we get into that, I feel that there is, I guess, a belief that the Trump administration has cut off a bunch of, I guess, good ties between a lot of countries, such as France, in a way, with Russia, with wanting to cancel that deal, and also China. But I don't really think that's the case. And the reason for that being is just because he cuts a certain deal that benefits another country. I don't think it's a good idea for any country to want to stop making any deals with the United States. I don't think they want to fall out with the United States. The United States has, look at the defenses. They're spending more on defenses than the next 10 countries combined. That includes China, that includes Russia, India, Brazil. So the United States is definitely a powerful nation in terms of, or a state rather, in terms of the economy, aside from COVID, obviously, but then also the defenses. So Biden would like to get into some of those deals. Will that be possible? Would France want to get back into the accords with that? Maybe. I would think so. They were really not happy when Trump left that. Do you have any thoughts on why that is, Anthony? On why he left and why Biden would like to get back into that?
Well, I mean, the first thing I want to say about about having the strongest military in the world. I mean, it's we have the strongest military in the world because of for defense reasons. And I don't want to get too off topic on that, but I think again, Trump leaves these deals for one reason. I said it earlier, and that's because he just believes he believes it's not in the best interest of the U.S. or it's because the U.S. is ripped off by it. Again, I'm not 100%. I'm not like on top of that deal already. I think when Trump did the USMCA, I think it was a good foreign trade deal. Again, I don't want to get too off topic though, but I don't know. It didn't work to the deal 100%, but I think it's something I would look more into.
I think if we're gonna talk about like the Paris Accords, just like really briefly, again, like I don't know the whole like.
Oh, we're talking about the Paris Accord.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. My bad. Yeah. Okay. So the Paris Climate Accord. Yeah. No. That's something we should not go back to. That was awful, awful, awful. That's
Well, why do you think that?
well, yeah. Well, I'm going to explain. Number one.
She was like, "I'm getting there, Pat. Relax."
So yeah. So number one. It was just a not good trade agreement with the U.S. and the U.S. was not getting a good thing on out of the bargain. And number two, it just it benefited more other states than Trump had for the U.S. and it just didn't really seem to be a good deal at the time. So we left, and that's really much to it.
Right. And that goes along with the pattern of other areas, even NATO. He felt that the U.S. wasn't getting the greatest deal again there. And I believe as a president can do such a thing. I know the world looks for the president of the United States to be a leader, but in order for that to happen, let's say in Trump's vision or in a more realist vision, they have to take care of one's own defense and economy first in order to help others. So that's really where that view comes from. And that's why those actions were done. So I'm not sure.
I
What were we
think
saying?
that I was never I was never a detractor of Trump's American first mentality. I think in the time it's probably what was needed. And I would think, especially now, we definitely need to quote unquote work on ourselves for a little bit because we have some stuff to sort out at home before we, you know, come charging back into these deals and treaties again. I'd like to see, I mean, I know that's not going to happen. I know that Biden's probably going to move very fast in his first month, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but it's important to make sure that the country is more unified than it is now.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
Here's something I actually want to bring up. So one of the first things that Biden's probably going to deal with is the caravan that's coming to from Guatemala to the U.S. And Biden mentioned that that the people from the caravan come to the U.S. once he lifts some of Trump's border policies. What do you guys think about that?
About lifting border policies?
About Biden lifting the border policies so the people in the caravan can come to the U.S. But in my opinion, like, you know, well, first of all, my main concern is if people have COVID and they can that'll probably be a super spreader thing that's going on.
Right. So in terms of anything, especially with immigration, which is even more complicated now due to COVID, I like to compare it to other countries and just show a little bit of hypocrisy that's been going on. You have crises such as the Syrian refugee crisis, and look at those other countries that are supposed to uphold international law, such as, you know, the UK. You even have Croatia, a lot of European states. They weren't even able to hold a lot of those refugees that were fleeing Syria. You have a lot of them held in Jordan. So to, I guess, criticize the Trump administration or to say it's a 100% go for the Biden administration to have more people come in, it's not really a criticism. It shouldn't be a criticism amongst, oh no, these are bad people, we shouldn't have them in. I think it should be a health concern. I think we should look again for the people and the citizens here first and those trying to get citizenship. So I think trying to help people who we don't have vetted, we don't know what they're health-wise, it's almost too much to handle right now. If we can't even get, I mean, the report just came in a few hours ago, 400,000 COVID-related deaths in the US. So I would think it's a bit illogical to have even more people come in at the moment if we're still struggling with those inside the country. You know, there's a lot to go into there and it's quite complicated, but I think, again, it goes off the same mentality of how can we help other people if the administration can't even help those within the borders, you know?
You could definitely say that, like, you could definitely compare that to Europe almost in the EU. Like they have like an open border policy throughout most nations in Central Europe. So like you could say that kind of contributed vastly to the spread of COVID there.
Yeah, and you also have to look at intention. I mean, you do have open border policies such as Germany, and then you have states who say that they're very welcoming towards refugees, yet don't even allow a lot of them to stay due to certain stipulations or them not have certain paperwork. That involves the UK as well. You have video evidence, you can see it all over. So it's good intention, and it seems like the right idea to say, yes, there are people we need to bring in, but it's quite difficult, quite complicated, again, if you cannot take care of the people in your own country. Bringing more people in, getting them vetted, checking their health in terms of COVID, it's just going to cause more spread. There are more lockdowns occurring, so it's a bit ironic to say, let's have lockdowns, but then let's also bring in people from different countries.
Yeah, it just
it's all over the place. You can't please everybody. You have to pick
correlate.
One.
Yeah, that's what politics is like.
Correlate. You can't please everybody. One and go with it, you know. And that can lead to a different topic as well in terms of upholding international law. Why certain unions, such as the EU and also the United Nations, are criticized. I think that reason being, you can't fully uphold international law. I think the strongest way of working is one's own country. An example being the United States or any other country of power can't go in to another country, let's say, for no reason or just because they want to change it. There has to be a real issue going on there. Each country has their own government. They have their own way of working, whether it's unitary, whether they have a federation. So there's criticism among the UN. There's criticism in certain unions because they don't have total control over each other. They can't uphold certain promises. That's why they're criticized right now. That's why Trump has a strong stance against them. But I believe that the Biden administration would like to reestablish these bonds. Let's call them neoliberal institutionalism, and those institutions, right? Reestablish those bonds, let's per se. So in which areas, in which countries do you think that the Biden administration would like to go and have a talk with first, whether it be France, even Palestine is a good area right now. I heard that he was thinking about kind of establishing them as a state because I know they're not recognized by the UN.
I was reading earlier that that Biden criticized Trump for putting the embassy in Jerusalem. Back when that happened, I think that was later last year. So, I think that he's probably just going to take like a hands off, like this isn't my problem type approach with that area. Not really pick a side, but you did say that he might recognize Palestine as a state, which I don't know, maybe. But I think that it's kind of weird because you're like, okay, like I recognize that like Palestine exists, but then Israel's like, no, they don't. And then
yeah, it's an nation state.
You piss them off, and it's like
that is an issue that's occurred before. I mean, for a while, it had to do with religion at first, and then later on in the 1940s, it became more political.
Mhm.
But let's talk about the significance of United States Israel relations, also the United Arab Emirates. And we'll find here, I believe, that there will be a similarity between the Biden and Trump administration. Like I said earlier, regardless of the party, with international policy, you'll find some similarities because at the end of the day, each country wants what's best for them. So there was the Abraham Accords that occurred in 2020. So this tacked on the Israel with United Arab Emirates, with certain trade deals and flying, of course, between air travel rather.
Mhm.
And Trump was criticized there because, again, he's not really recognizing Palestine. It's almost delegitimizing them. But the reason for doing this isn't really about Palestine, I don't believe. I believe it was more so towards gathering more allies against Iran. And you'll see that Trump got out of the Iran deal. He felt that there was no way to fully supervise them and check over them, overlook them. So he went out, and what happened there is they reestablished more trade bans, you could say.
Well, it's a good thing that he let the Iran deal. Iran's a rogue country. They hate the U.S.
Well, yeah, and Iran, just a reminder, they don't have nuclear weapons right now, but they have the potential. They have the potential to create nuclear weapons. So the belief was, at the time with the Iran deal, that they could fully watch over the potential nuclear weapons to make sure that they do not come above a certain amount to get there, to establish those. But the Trump administration said, no, we don't believe this is trustworthy. So again, they backed out.
We actually talked about that in a prior episode. We talked about the scientists.
Oh, you did?
The scientists being assassinated. So
yes, I believe that's true. But again, it could just be a rumor. I don't know if it's 100% confirmed.
Well, the scientist is dead. He's 100% dead.
Okay, yeah. But as to why, but
we don't know, we don't know like to what end was his role with like the nuclear program. I mean, apparently he was a high up, and getting like him dying did put a dent in their plan, if that's the case. But we still don't know who did that. But apparently Israel sort of like claimed. One of my friends is from Israel, and he was telling me that like, oh yeah, our prime minister was like, "This is yes, the Iranians have gotten what's come to them," and I'm like, wonderful.
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, going back to nuclear weapons, I know I said earlier that the United States and Russia owns over 90%, and the core 5 countries in the UN, they're legal by international law to hold nuclear weapons. But then you have other countries such as Israel who also have them. What's showing there is that hello? Okay. What's showing there is that there's basically a monopoly of the nuclear weapons in the Middle East area. That's why, US has that relation with them. They want Israel to have those. That way, if Iran were to get them, then you have almost like another Cold War scenario.
So I have a question for both of you.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, hold on. I think Patrick cut out a little bit. Patrick, can you hear me? Hello? All right. Anthony, I'm just
You guys can continue. I can't hear for some reason.
Okay, ask away.
So, Israel says that they have the nukes for defense purposes. Do you buy that, or do you think that, do you think that having,
I buy that.
You think like having nukes is necessary
for sure.
for defense?
I mean, think of it. Think who's giving them the nukes. I mean, if they have it, if they do have it, think who's giving it. We're probably giving it them.
Yes.
Giving shit to them. I mean, like they have launched missiles. I mean, they actually have launched missiles, and if they don't have the money to give it to them, I'm assuming the United States can easily just say, "Oh, here you go. Here's a couple missiles if you want to," because we are.
Yes, and
Israel is one of our strongest allies, even
so
though a lot of countries hate them.
Regardless of having them or not, though, you could still have a bluff, kind of like the Reagan administration with Star Wars. There wasn't actually anything there. They're actually trying and testing things out, but it was big enough of a bluff to kind of cause a stalemate and say, hey, let's not mess with these guys. So again, going back to Iran, they don't have as much power as a lot of people want to think. They're not as dangerous right now, I guess, on an international level, but they're definitely something to look at. I mean, with the economic sanctions right now, they're back in a hole, I would say. They can't really support the terrorist organizations that they're linked to. I know they want to support them, but they can't do the best they can in that case.
I'd say they're dangerous. They're a dangerous nation.
Of course, they're a dangerous nation, but if you're comparing their military strength or their economic,
I mean, Iran was one of the countries that influenced the 2020 election in the U.S. Maybe the DNI even said it in a report that China, Iran, and Russia influenced the 2020 election. Or, well, I wouldn't say influence, interfered.
Right. Well, that's another area. I was thinking dangerous in terms of nuclear strength, in terms of military strength. I would say you compare them to China, you compare them to the United States. They look much smaller, which is why they have to pair up with other countries.
So, to you guys, what do you think that Biden's strongest foreign policy will be? Like, if you had to,
there won't be any.
You have to take a bet on it.
There won't be any. He won't have any potential foreign policy, anything. He's gonna be so weak on foreign policy. It won't be. I just can't wait to see him fail at foreign policy.
Well,
just kidding.
The thing is,
but compare the Trump to Biden, he's gonna be super weak on foreign policy. He won't even have a simple standpoint on that, though. But look, I mean, I don't want to see any president fail, for the matter. Okay, I mean to say that though, but apologies. But
it's okay. You could add some humor into it. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
No, nobody wants to see.
No, I don't want to see any president fail. No, I don't want to see any president.
Yeah,
period.
Then we're at expense of that.
Exactly.
Well, you want everyone to do well, and it was kind of funny how like towards the end of the Trump's administration, everyone wanted him to fail, and it's like, I mean, like,
Yeah, that's the
kind of-
thing. Wanting anybody to fail, whether you like them or not, regardless of the actual politics. That's
Exactly.
the president of your country. If they fail, it kind of hurts yourself.
Yeah.
It will hurt your defense, will hurt you domestically. So I hope Biden does well. I hope he surprises people. I hope his stances are stronger. I hope they are more unitary. But if you want to have or be able to guess on certain policies, you can look at his track record as vice president, things that he was a vice president in the area of foreign policy. Usually when you have a vice president and a president, one is usually better foreign, one is better domestic. So one thing for the viewers to know is to look at his successes and failures during the Obama administration and look at the deals and certain policies that he agreed and disagreed with as a senator, and then look at whether he supported or went against war and which wars. So
he
these are
voted for
certain things.
war.
Well, yeah, he did. But,
Yep.
for those who aren't aware, that's something to definitely look at. Will he be influenced by other people in his administration? Possibly, of course. But hey, it's something strongest stance. I'm not sure. All I see right now, realistically, is him coming back and trying to help France, going back into the Paris Agreement. So, Paris Accords, rather. I'm not sure about strongest. I can't tell until it starts. You know.
I think that if he like got back into certain like climate agreements, but with better terms, more favorable terms, or more consistent terms rather, I think that that would be a win. I don't think that Trump was wrong to necessarily get out of some of those treaties, because if they were unfair, and listen, I mean, he probably knows more than me, and his advisors know more than me. So, if they thought that it was not favorable, then okay, then they should. I think it would have been more productive instead of just leaving it and say "fuck you guys." Just be like,
Yeah.
"All right, can we renegotiate the terms because we're kind of getting the short end of the stick here, or we're carrying this treaty." Like, I feel like if you asked more of the countries to pull their weight, you could try. I don't know if that's necessarily gonna actually work, but it's a little less.
Well, the U.S. should have some pull. I mean, and he's
Yeah.
done that before. He did that with Mexico. I mean, he had pull, and I don't disagree with there being another, I guess, attempt at an environmental agreement. I don't think anyone is going to deny any future progress or the want to have progress environmentally. But because I'm no scientist, I'm no environmentalist expert. But what I can say is that if Biden does approach another deal with let's say France, it's the best example right now. It should be something fair, like you said, and it should be a realistic option that can both not destroy U.S. economy, not be extremely, I know it will be expensive, that's why a lot of people criticize it, but if they can find a real solution to environmental problems that doesn't destroy jobs and the economy as a totality, then that's fine. I mean, that's the big criticism. That's why people didn't like it. It wasn't because it was environmentally friendly. I think it's weird to say you're not helping the environment, or let's not help the environment because we hate the environment.
Yeah. I think
it has to do with money. It has to do with money. Same thing with fracking. It has to do with money, jobs. If you can somehow benefit both, that's great. That's a complicated issue. It's hard to benefit both. It's hard to have such a dramatic change.
I think that
So
I think another thing too is like why like climate agreements are somewhat important is that you need to make sure that a bunch of countries are on the same page, because like I always make this argument. It's like, oh, like US is going green or whatever. Okay, cool. Like net carbon emissions are zero like in
Energy
2030. Like, okay, cool. Like we did it. But now India over there is fucking pumping all the crazy shit. It's not
Really? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We
That's
are
what
only
I was saying
we
earlier in
are
terms
only
of
part of the world. We need the other countries to pull their weight, and we need them to be honest about it and work for the
yes.
same type of progression that we're trying to achieve.
And East
with
Asia is
here.
where all the plastic pollution
And we
is.
can't make them.
Yeah, I know. It's like
But you
that.
can't make them do shit though.
I know. That's why I like those agreements and like be like, hey man, like you need to stop like littering, or you need to stop, or you need to stop like using plastic so much. It's like, okay,
I said this on the previous episode. We can't be the police of the world.
yeah.
And I
Yeah,
and
that's
when I
there
said it,
is
I meant it.
yeah, there has to be self-responsibility. I'm a firm believer of each person's individual responsibility can help your community, which then helps a larger area going from state to then the country. If you just tell somebody to do something or put some weak international law on something, nobody's going to do anything. The US isn't going to go attack another country because they're not cleaning up their litter, you know?
That would
Each
be
country is
wild.
responsible for itself, as each person is.
Bro,
They're
imagine,
not going to go shoot nukes at India because they're not doing their job.
bro, imagine if that's what happened. That would probably pollute the environment even more.
That's yeah. It's like, yeah, let's lower nukes. Let's get another deal with Russia. Let's lower nukes, but then let's use the less amount of nukes that we have to destroy countries. Let's just delete a country.
Let's
That's
change
not
the
helping anyone.
atmosphere,
Like
baby.
yes, I get some countries might be literally sinking over the millions of years, but getting rid of it sooner isn't going to help anybody.
What the?
That's
I wouldn't want to delete a country,
that's
but
escalate.
Oh my god.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah,
No,
no, the
I'm just saying if
environment's great.
if that's like what it would just be funny if like that would be like a solution, because like it's completely counterproductive. But
Yeah, let's just go back to like another Chernobyl. Perfect.
yeah. All right, I think that we could end it there. I think we fleshed out a number of things pretty
Final
quickly.
thoughts?
We got like summaries and stuff. We have 3 minutes left, so if you want to do like a little quick 1 minute wrap up, go right ahead, both of you.
Sure. So I just want to summarize though, in case I get any backlash from what I said earlier. Look, I don't wish any president to fail. Just I make that clear with everybody. I wish every president to be successful. I even said it in my Facebook post that I wish President Biden well in his first term in office. Hope he does what's best for the country and moving forward, and really hope he does what's the best interest in the U.S. And also, I hope even though I disagree with him politically, disagree with all of his policies, I really hope what's best for him to come. Obviously, I really hope he does what's good for the U.S. moving forward, and of course. Obviously, what's going forward, I don't agree with what he's going to do tomorrow with getting rid of Trump's policies, but I really hope he's going to do his best for the U.S. and I'll support him when I can if he does something right, and I'll support if he does something wrong, I'll say, okay, well, why did you do this? So that's my take.
Okay, Patrick.
Right, you really summed it up well. I'll just add a little bit. War is bad. Helping environment, good. Jobs, good. Nuclear weapons, bombing people, bad. So let's hope that stays how it is. None of those happen. Don't delete countries because they don't agree with you, and clean up your litter.
That's a great tagline,
okay.
and what a way to end it. Patrick, it's good to have
Perfect.
you on, and we'll catch you guys next Friday.
Yep.
See ya.
See you there, Christian.